Thank you to the Jazz Ensemble. It's great to see all of you today. It's especially wonderful to see our children, mostly up in the balconies. Hello. I know, but I'm going to keep talking until they turn it on. So we got work to do today. There we go. Good morning, and welcome to worship here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Shelter Rock. I'm the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore. I minister here along with the Reverends David Carl Olson, the Reverend Israel Buffardi, and our student minister, Dana Moore. Our faith, our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, values diversity, and so we invite each and every one of you to make us a part of your spiritual journey. We believe that you need not think alike to love alike. We believe in the liberating power of love. I invite you to take part in our many activities, which you will find in our newsletter, which is located in the lobby and paper, and it's also available online on our website. I need you to know and take very seriously that today is the last day when you may nominate yourself or someone you know to be elected to the Board of Trustees, the Veatch Board of Governors, or the nominating committee. Information about this nominating process is in the lobby and online. And I want to say that while this may seem to be just another bureaucratic task, it really is about the heart and soul of who we are as people who come together to make our own decisions about how we run this place. You get to decide on the mission, vision, and values of this congregation and how to implement them. You get to vote on your leaders here. You get to invest them with your dreams, your hopes, your wishes. So please take seriously this matter of nominating yourself or others. Take seriously the leadership of this, your faith community. I also ask you to hold the date for our annual all-congregation retreat, which will be Memorial Day, which I know seems like a long time. However, registration starts February 5th. So please, hold the date, be on the lookout. Don't miss the fun. I also would like you to join us today for lunch after the service, which is hosted by the Veatch Board of Governors. If you are a visitor, you are a guest for lunch today. We are glad that you are here with us today and hope that you will join us again and again and again. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Diane Cohen, and I am the chair of the Veatch Board of Governors. Welcome to Veatch Sunday. The Veatch program is the national philanthropic giving program of our congregation. Veatch provides long-term core support for social justice organizing throughout the United States. We currently fund nearly 200 organizations who are working to sustain our multiracial democracy. Veatch has been a leader in progressive philanthropy since 1959. Veatch is our legacy, and every member of this congregation is a part of that legacy. Veatch Sunday is a beloved annual tradition here at Shelter Rock. It is always a special day because we will all have the opportunity to hear Veatch grantees speak from the pulpit and show us how their work is putting our faith into action. In today's service, we are welcoming Deborah Scott, Chief Executive Officer of Georgia Stand Up, to give the sermon. Deborah is an organizer, thought leader, mentor, and a fierce advocate for working communities, families, and young people. She has worked tirelessly toward her vision of an equitable Georgia for decades. Deborah, we are so grateful and honored that you could take the time from your work to spend Veatch Sunday with us. We are all looking forward to opening our hearts and minds to your words. Following the service, please join the governors at 12 p.m. for lunch in the social hall. After lunch, at 1 p.m., we will be back here in the worship room for the Veatch Annual Meeting. We will get to hear more from Deborah in dialogue with Veatch grantee Rosemary Rivera, the Executive Director of Public Policy and Education Fund of New York, and members of the Veatch staff. Thank you, Rosemary, for traveling here to Shelter Rock to talk with us about the important work of sustaining democracy and justice right here at home. Please do join us and bring your questions for this very special conversation at 1 p.m. I look forward to our day together.
All right, I invite the Mitchell family up here to help me light the chalice. And thank you, Katina and Gary, and Juliet. Thank you. Okay, we light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. This is the faith of the open mind. Yeah. Oh, okay, wait. Okay, well, you could like this, like this. This is the faith of the open mind. This is the faith of the loving heart. And this is the faith of the helping hand. Together, we take care of our earth and work for peace and friendship in our world. Thank you very much. And now, please stand as you can in body or spirit for hymn number 1010. We give thanks.
Please remain standing for the words of affirmation and our song of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need. This do we affirm and covenant with each other.
Good morning. I'm Diane Lombardi, Vice Chair of the Veatch Board of Governors. Today's plate collection is for Veatch Grantee, Georgia Stand-Up, based in Atlanta. We will hear shortly from Founder and Chief Executive Officer, who you've kind of met already, Deborah Scott. I'm going to take us back for a moment to December 2020, amid masks and fear and social distancing. Deborah and her team of organizers and leaders were out knocking on doors, fighting for our democracy. For months, they had been talking to their neighbors, educating and motivating people to exercise their right to vote at a crucial moment for Georgia and the country. Deborah told the New York Times during those days that when she first founded Georgia Stand Up in 2004 as a quote-unquote think and act tank for working communities, it was hard to persuade grant makers that focus on grassroots organizing to take investing in Georgia seriously. The Veatch program stepped up a few years later to become one of Georgia's Stand Up's earliest core funders. Today, Georgia Stand Up is not just an organization, it is a movement that is impacting the state of Georgia and the future of our democracy itself. Georgia Stand Up now serves as a grassroots hub for hope, love, possibility, and action. It supports community coalitions determined to expand Medicaid and to make housing affordable. In partnership with organized labor, it is equipping young leaders with trade skills and the ability to demand fair wages and benefits. Georgia Stand Up truly reflects our Unitarian Universalist beliefs and values. It is building power for those who need it. Like all Veatch grantees, Georgia Stand Up raises its base of funding from grants and from individual gifts. Today, you can make a contribution through our website, through PayPal or by text message. If you are on site, the donation box is outside the worship room door. Please find it in your hearts to donate as generously as you are able. And now we will sing our children out to Ari to religious education. Thank you.
So now is a time for silence, meditation, and prayer. Take a moment. Take a moment to breathe deeply, slowly. To hold in your heart your dearest wish. To know in this moment that you are loved. I love the little voice. Yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. Our hope and our prayer for that little one, is that the world turns from violence and hate and dehumanization. Our prayer for that little one is that they may know peace. That never again will humans fail to see the holy in one another. In these times of anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, homophobia, transphobia, these times of fear and hatred of all kinds, we must know that there is a chance that we will give into despair But we must also know that it is within us not to give away our power to make change for a better world. It is within our power. Into our hearts, I offer these words of Jack Riemer for our meditation. We cannot merely pray to God to end war, for the world was made in such a way that we must find our own path of peace within ourselves and with our neighbors. We cannot merely pray to God to root out our prejudice, for we already have eyes with which to see the good in all people if we would but use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to God to end starvation, for we already have the resources with which to feed the entire world if only we would use them wisely. We cannot merely pray, root out despair, for the spark of hope already waits within the human heart for us to fan it into flame, for us to fan it into flame. We cannot merely pray to God to end disease, for we already have great minds with which to search out cures and healing if we would only use them constructively. Therefore, we pray instead for strength, determination, and willpower to do instead of merely to pray, to do instead of merely to pray, to become instead of merely to wish, to become instead of merely to wish. To become instead of merely to wish that our world may be safe and that our lives may be blessed. So much rests within our own hands. So much must be held in our own hearts. We, in this time of great despair, when we may feel hopeless and helpless, we can decide to stand together and be stronger. We can decide to become a community which takes action and supports others who take action. From the beginning, when creation started, we humans have had our place, not to dominate, but to join together, to continue the work of creation, and to move us toward peace and justice. Holocaust Remembrance Day reminds us of the worst we can be. We remember so that we can turn away from that and towards the best that we can be, towards peace, towards justice, towards hope, towards love. May we make that choice. May it be so.
This reading today is from the New Testament, from the book of Matthew. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments.
So good morning. My name is Deborah Scott, as they said, and first of all, just thank you. I have been enriched this morning. This choir is wonderful. The music, I could sit here all day. Thank you very much. And thank you to the Veatch family. I'm gonna stray a little bit because I'm really moved to be here. And as I was hearing the introduction, I remember sitting at my kitchen table, and my husband had actually started this organization. It's called Georgia Stand Up. He was with the National AFL-CIO, and you know, they were trying to figure out a labor community partnership. And when I came on as the executive director a few years, well, a year later, after the first person moved on, I decided that I wanted to look at our mission a little bit differently. Because what they were looking at as labor, and they were looking at labor as workers, right? And they were looking at how they can expand the labor movement by making sure there was a coalition with workers, right? And with workers in the community. However, there was one problem. We were in Georgia, and union density was only 3 to 4%. So if you start a movement with the premise that we're going to fight for that 3 to 4% and leave out the community that you need, I would call that a transactional relationship, right? That you bring the community leader up when you need to, and then they would speak on behalf of that campaign. So what we did is we shifted the model. Right? And we said, we're going to honor the communities that we work with, and we're going to work with the communities, and we're going to work with labor at the same time, right? And so as we talk about that love lives here, I wanted to let you know that I know that love lives here. The reason I know love lives here because it was in 2005 when I came to the organization with $5,000. And in 2007, it was the Veatch program that gave us our first significant grant. And almost 20 years later, we're still here. Love lives here because of you. I'm here because of you. Love lives here because of you. It lives here. So I would like to think of this as a love letter to you from your grantees in the field that you don't get to see. So I have to bring you to Georgia. Will you come to Georgia with me? You will? Okay, we're going to be doing some door knocking, so we're knocking later. We're going to really need you because I think our democracy is under attack once again. But what I would say is, as we talk about love, it's a demonstration of our values. It's a demonstration of how democracy can really play out in our communities. It's faith in action, right? And so we're organizers. We're on the ground. We're knocking on doors. We're talking to people. We're trying to get them to own their own power. That's love. Love lives here, right? When you own your power, when you own your agency, love lives here, right? So what do we do? When our rights are under attack, what do? We stand up and fight back. I'm going to ask you, that's a trick question. I'm going to ask you later. When we stand up, it's an act of love. When we resist, it's an act of love. When we share with our communities that policies that are trying to kill them, it's an act of love. When we get arrested at the state capitol or in the Senate building, that's an act of love. When we knock on doors, and we did over 1 million, that's an act of love. When we're out there in the streets, making sure that people who can't afford to live in places like the city of Atlanta and we resist. And when eminent domain comes along and says they want your homes, and we say we're going to stand with the residents of Peoplestown, that's an act of love, because love lives here. Love lives here. As this world is continuing to get twisted and turned, and we talked about war already, right? There's no escaping it. There's always, hopefully there won't always be war. We know that someday there won't be war. But in the interest of the communities that we care about, we have to do what it takes to show love in real time. And so in Georgia, when they pass voter suppression laws that say if someone's standing in the line for 2 to 7 hours, and I come up to them and I give them a glass of water, that I can go to jail because I influence their vote. Love lives here. When we put a party at the polls right across the street and we line the streets with food trucks. So we don't just have water, we have food and donuts and music and fun, because we want people to understand that democracy is up to the community. And in order for us to preserve our democracy, we must operate in unity. Love lives here. When we craft policies with our communities that will help them stay there and will help them get jobs, that means love lives here. When Partnership for Working Families and Power Switch Action and Black Voters Matter, when we're out in the field talking to our people, when we're writing policy, focusing on how we can support our communities, that's love in action. Love lives here. When I see the postcards that maybe some of you wrote, who wrote a postcard? There were, thank you. I had those postcards on my own refrigerator. I was so excited to get a postcard. You wrote thousands of postcards. Love lives here. We got those postcards. Why are those postcards important? Because someone took the time to write their name and said, good luck. God bless you. We're with you. Go vote. Democracy is in your hands. That's a demonstration that love lives here. People have those postcards still on their refrigerator. Love lives here. That's a reminder. So I came by to remind you and to say thank you for allowing love to live here, for allowing a girl like me who is from Boston, Massachusetts, and we did the whole reverse migration thing and went back south. And if you can imagine my grandfather that fled the South and said, never go back. And I go back, it's 1983, or I go there, it's 1983, and I'd already met Reverend Lowry, Joseph Lowry, and he says, come on to work with SCLC, and I'm a student activist, and we're trying to get Nelson Mandela out of jail. It was 1983, 84. Some of us are, well, maybe some of you might remember. So when I took my first arrest, when I took my first arrest, it was at Winn-Dixie, because they were selling peaches in the peach state from South Africa. So if you can imagine, as I make that one phone call, and it really is true, it's one phone call, and you make that one phone call, and you call your mother because she sent you to college to get an education, and you say, well, I'm in jail because they were selling peaches from South Africa. And she's like, I didn't send you to school for that. Why were you stealing peaches? No, they were selling. So the act of civil disobedience and knowing that as a student leader that what I did in Atlanta affected South Africa today, over 40 years ago, it made a difference. What we did in Atlanta affected South Africa. As we were marching to get the Martin Luther King holiday, we just celebrated. We were on the front lines trying to make that happen with Coretta Scott King. So when we marched the other day, it's unfortunate that we have to say the same things. that our democracy is still at stake, that there are literal people who are trying to kill us. When January 5th happens and we're trying to get the people's candidates elected, and at the time, they had chosen the first Jewish senator ever in the state of Georgia. And then it was a runoff, and they were trying to elect their first African-American senator in the state of Georgia. And when that victory happened, and let me just dispel a couple of myths, it wasn't one super candidate. It wasn't one being over here. It wasn't a celebrity. It was sustained organizing over 10, 12, 14 years that flipped that state. There was not a magic bullet. It happened because when you give general support, operating support to nonprofits on the ground, and you say, do what you need to do with it, and we're going to be with you, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 10 years if it takes that. When you can see that the organizing takes a long time, and you can talk to a funder and say, you know, I know they say it's impossible to flip a state like Georgia, but I believe it is. And then when we get to make that happen, the victory in how that felt on January 5th was only met by January 6th, as literally our senator was thanking his constituents. All heck was breaking loose in DC. Love lives here. Because we can't turn those battles into bitterness, right? When we see the Klan, and they still dress up, by the way, sometimes they have on t-shirts, right? But the boots are still the same. When we see them in 24, every day, in the way they show up at the state capitol, in the way they show up at corners when we're doing social justice marches, to let us know that this is still a slave state in Georgia. But we say love is an act of resistance. Love is an act of educating your community. Love is an act of supporting each other in building coalitions, multiracial coalitions, multifaceted coalitions. It's supporting the LGBT community. It's supporting folks that are the least and the left out. It's the organizing that happens that is the manifestation of love. So what I would say is love lives here. You live here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for seeding into a girl like me that is a leader because of you, because you saw fit to support organizations like it. It matters. So the postcards matter. The dollars matter. The knocking on the doors, the phone calls, they matter. But when it's an off election, oh, that's when we really have to watch them, right? That's when we have to make sure we enforce policies that we get passed. That's when we need to make sure that people are really doing what they said that they would do. That means we have to hold our government accountable for the resources that are ours. That means we have to recognize that they work for us. Because love lives here, we have to hold them accountable. So as we face fear sometimes on the front line, we get our inspiration and our motivation from the Miss Johnsons and the Miss Jacksons that say, you know, Miss Scott, all I just want is a street light at my corner because every night I'm scared. I just need a street light. And so instead of just getting her the street light, when we can empower her on how to go up to city council and your city government and not just ask for a street light, but we want to look at the whole street grid and want to know why we don't have lights on every corner, right? That we get to teach her through our Policy Institute how to organize with others so it's not about one light, it's about all the lights. When we talk about the inequity of transportation, and for context, working class Black and brown people mostly live on the South Side, right? It takes 120 minutes to get to the good jobs on the north side. So if Mrs. Johnson, Miss Jackson, has to pick up her child on the way home, and her transportation, because she's on the public transportation, does not take her to where she needs to go, and she has to walk yet another mile when she gets off one bus and has to get on another because it doesn't connect. When we knock on doors back in 2016, because Clayton County had lost their bus system, and in the year that some other things happened in the election in 2016, that actually in Clayton County they taxed themselves. 78% of the community, black and brown community, voted to tax themselves to get their own transportation system and to join the MARTA system. That's love. Love lives here. So when I ride down the street and I see over 400 bus stops that didn't exist, and I see Ms. Johnson and Ms. Jackson, and they can get on the bus, and they don't have to walk on the side of the highway because there was no bus system. And I know that we help to do that with a coalition of love. Love lives here. That's the manifestation. It takes a long time. What I want to share with you is whether you're in Georgia or any place, but particularly in the South, what do they say? The arc of injustice? I mean, it bends, right? It bends, right? But it bends back our way. So we have to keep hope, keep resistance, keep educating, keep organizing and strategizing and mobilizing. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for you? What is your role? How do you express love? We love our families, we love our friends, we love our people, our things. But you love people you don't even know. You give, thank you, first of all. You just gave a donation to Georgia Stand Up. You don't know me, but you do, because I'm family. So I'm your cousin in Atlanta. Come visit me when you want, right? So I have cousins. I have people in Atlanta. So you come on to Atlanta because we will be very busy this year. So as we're trying to expand Medicaid, when a state says, you know what, we don't want to expand Medicaid, and if we give people Medicaid, they're going to have to go to work. One of only 2 states. When people are dropping off the roll and you literally see them in the street, tents everywhere, everywhere. And it's not because, in some cases, that this is an influx of people, and that's an issue. These are working class people that helped to build Atlanta, and they can't afford to live there. This is the most unequal, or that is the most unequal city in the country. The haves have and the have not. But when I remember choosing to go to Atlanta, I saw that Ebony magazine and it said it was the Black Mecca. And I was like, I'm going there because everybody must be rich and everybody must be doing well. But what they didn't tell us is about the people living under the trees, under the bridges. They didn't tell us about the inequities that happen in a state called Georgia. So as I reflect on my journey, and it's been about 40 years for me, and 20 years in this organization, one of the things that I would say is the only way we will win is if we work together. The only way we will win is if we bring that coalition table, and I call it the coalition of the willing, right? You have to be willing to share your love, to share, to be in community, to work with each other, to respect each other. So, we all don't get along all the time, right? We can say, sometimes we don't necessarily like each other, certain things, right? But we can say, I love you, I see the humanity in you. I see what you're trying to do, I see what you believe in, and I'm gonna work with you anyway. So we build coalitions upon coalitions. So whether it's transportation, whether it's education, whether it's affordable housing, there are people who are willing to sit together and work together because they can see the end result. The end result is power for those that don't have it, that need it. The inequities are ridiculous. You know them, you see it. But what I would say is the way in which we resist is by showing up in love. Because love lives here. I know you already know that. Because love lives here, I know that you'll continue to support these grantees all over the country. Because I know you know love lives here, that we know we have to sometimes work out of our communities and put ourselves in other people's perspectives, right? That we might have to look at other ways of thinking about solving these problems because love lives here. So we have to keep respecting, educating, and working together. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to ask you, if our rights are under attack, what will you do? Oh, no, I didn't hear you. When our rights are under attack, what will you do? Okay, we're going to practice this. When our rights are under attack, what will you do? Stand up and fight back with love. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah. Please rise for our closing hymn, number 131, Rise in Body or Spirit, to sing Love Will Guide Us. In closing, these are the words of our Universalist ancestor, Hosea Ballou. If we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not agree in love, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. So may it be. Here's Charles.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.